My name is Dror Wayne. I'm the lead instructor for the Emergency Medical Services course, the Chofshim course in Tel Aviv. And as part of my role, I also teach courses in the universities. I teach our instructors courses. And of course, I'm in the field on MDA's ambulances. On the first and last day of every medics course, I address the students and I tell them this: our patients cannot choose us, but we chose the job. Our patients cannot choose us. When someone has a medical emergency, they can't ask their friends and family for recommendations of which ambulance to take at what time of day in which city. They dial 101, and they know that they will get the treatment that they need and the treatment that they deserve as human beings. But we chose the job. And I tell them every single one of you in this room has taken on 100% of the responsibility to be the best medic that you can be and give the best treatment that you can give every single time to every single patient, because our patients have no choice, but we chose the job. So if you're not ready for that, now is the time to leave. Of course, none of them leave, and so I continue. It's not going to be easy. The responsibility starts today, because today we won't be opening the course with the anatomy of the human body as was traditional. We're going to start by learning CPR, the key to saving a life when the heart stops. So that by 3 o'clock this afternoon, when you go outside for a break, if someone needs help, you are ready to give it. And then, after this little speech, I watch them rise to the challenge, which isn't easy. The course is 9 hours a day, every day, including Sunday. Many of them travel an hour to get to the station, an hour back home. They have homework and revision. They have families to go back to in the evenings. And yet, nonetheless, I watch them come early in the mornings to train. Through their lunch breaks, they come to bombard me with questions. And then they get together as a group in the evening to practice and to revise more. And it was in early August that one of my courses had come to the end of their training just before their 3 practical exams. One student named Joshua Rothstein, or as we called him, Shui, came for his first of the 3 practicals. He did his CPR practical and he passed with flying colors. I couldn't fault him. And that's saying something, because even amongst the instructors, I'm known as being the toughest examiner. Half an hour later, he was standing in the Tel Aviv Haganah train station on his way home, when station staff came over the tannoy and said, "We urgently need a medical professional." Shui had passed his exam, but he didn't know it yet. He had another 2 to go. He'd never been on an ambulance. But nonetheless, as we expected, and as he was trained, he made his way over to the platform where he found Igor, a 57-year-old man who had suffered a heart attack leading to cardiac arrest. A blockage in one of the arteries that supplies oxygen to Igor's muscle of the heart caused the heart to stop beating. He was clinically dead, and the countdown was on with 4 to 6 minutes until irreversible brain death began. His heart was in ventricular fibrillation, a state in which electricity is running wild, but there is no pulse. And every minute that your heart is in VF without receiving a shock from the defibrillator, your chances of survival go down by 7 to 10%. Igor could not choose Shui, but in that moment, Shui chose the job and rose to the challenge. Just like he did in his exam half an hour before, he pumped on Igor's chest and prevented brain death. With a defibrillator from the station, he administered 2 shocks and brought Igor back to life. A Magen David Adom mobile intensive care unit transported Igor to Ichilov Hospital to the cardiac unit for emergency surgery. A week later, they were reunited in Igor's home, and Shui said to see Igor standing here next to me a week after he was on the line between life and death, and now he's smiling, made it all worth it. At the end of the course, after they've passed their exams, but before they go out on the ambulances, I tell them the same thing. Our patients cannot choose us, but we chose the job, and the responsibility is completely on our shoulders. I tell them to remember that they have to keep learning and keep studying, to ask questions from more senior staff, to look at how the hospital teams act. I tell them to remember that no matter how tired they are from the night shift the night before, what they're planning to rush off to afterwards, they have to be entirely present with each and every patient. I tell them to remember that when they arrive to the elderly gentleman who fell over, it's not just another call for them. It's a scary, humbling, and often lonely experience that we have to remember to give not only the treatment, but the care and the dignity that they deserve by bending down and speaking to them at eye level, saying, Salama, ismi Dror min Magen David Adom, Ana hu Ashana Said. Shalom, my name is Dror from Magen David Adom. I'm here to help. I tell them to remember that when they're called to treat a 32-year-old mother who's suffering a stroke whilst home alone with her children, they're going to be rushed and they're going to be stressed as they try to examine, treat, and transport to her. But they have to take a moment and remember to look after her children. And even though that mother suffering a stroke cannot speak right now, if you look into her eyes when she sees you taking care of her kids, you'll realize that at that moment, you've given her all she cares about. I tell them to remember that every patient is unique. For every patient, our call is a scary and once-in-a-lifetime experience, and they should relate to it as such. There are some things that I don't tell them, but I let them experience for the first time themselves. I don't tell them what it's like when you're teaching first aid in a school and a teacher comes up to you and says, thank you. You were the medic that treated my daughter after a car accident. I don't tell them what it's like to finish your third consecutive 14-hour shift vaccinating care home residents, knowing that you yourself have given 1,500 people the chance to hug their families once more. There are no words to describe how you can be so broken by tiredness and yet so thrilled at the same time. And I don't tell them that one day they're going to roll up a patient's sleeve to take their blood pressure and they'll find a tattoo of a number on their arm. That they'll catch the patient's eye and realize that there's still a sparkle there after so many years, after going through so much. My job is to prepare them with the skills and the knowledge that they need. My job is to prepare them for some of the most challenging moments of their lives, the likes of which they will never have faced before. There are some things that I can't prepare them for, and there are some things that no one told me when I became an instructor. No one told me what it would be like to stand in my office window on the second floor and watch my former students, the stars of Israel, going out as ambulance team leaders on their own right. No one told me what it would be like when a student named Odelia would walk into my office, hold up her phone and say, Shui just did CPR in the train station and he saved the guy's life. And no one told me what it would be like to have my former students, those stars of Israel, crying into my arms, telling me, I can't handle it. I can't handle not knowing what it's like, what's happening to the patients when we leave them in the hospital. I can't handle seeing people so in need of proper care and support beyond the ambulance and not being able to give it. I go to sleep and I can't get the sights, sounds, and smell out of my head. I can't handle it. And yet, I wouldn't change my job for the world. I couldn't be prouder to be a British Israeli teaching group after group of MDA staff and volunteers. I couldn't be prouder to be playing a pivotal part in developing the state of Israel that we love so much. And I couldn't be prouder to know that we do it all thanks to the support of MDA UK. I'm going to go back to London now, and I'm going to sit down with my team to plan out our goals for 2022. We want to raise the standards of care in MDA higher than they have ever been before. We want to train more members of the public than ever before. And we want our medics, the stars of Israel, to shine so bright that they truly are an Or LaGoyim, a light unto the nations. And we will. I know we will because I'm looking out across a room filled with 100 people who will ensure that we have the financial means to make it happen. It's thanks to your donations and support in the past that we were agile enough to respond to the challenges of this past year, and a tough year it has been, with a pandemic, Operation Guardian of the Walls, the Meron and Sukkot tragedies. It's thanks to your support that we as MDA medics and paramedics and EMTs have achieved what we have achieved until now, and it's thanks to your supports that we will continue to achieve new heights in the years to come. Our patients can't choose us, but we chose the job. We chose to change the world, because as in Israel we say, כל המקיים נפש אחד בישראל, מעלה עליו הכתוב, כאילו קיים עולם מלא. We equate each and every life to the entire world. Your table hosts will now distribute pledge cards. On these pledge cards are lists of resources that we need to save lives. They range from consumables, such as needles and stickers, through to medical equipment, such as cardiac monitors, and even the option of dedicating a mezuzah in the new National Blood and Logistics Center. Each of these donations translates to more lives saved. So on behalf of every medic, every volunteer, and every member of staff within Magen David Adom in Israel, thank you for your support.